quiet mornings to city lights. Every story earns its right. No filters, no favors, just the truth all day long. This is the pulse of Jonesboro.
Welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I am Jeremy Terrell, and I am your host. And we got an awesome guest today, a friend of mine, and man, this guy's got a history in Jonesboro and with Jonesboro Public Schools. But I'd love to introduce Joe Sheppard. Joe Sheppard is on the school board right now. He is a retired man from Hytro. How long were you with Hytro?
39.
39 years. So he knows all the ins and outs and the corners of everything going on in Hytro. Great company, a staple in Jonesboro. But Joe's got a ton of knowledge, and man, I'm just excited to have him here on the podcast. So, man, we're going to jump in probably right into schools. Talk a little bit about Jonesboro Public Schools, because that's his and mine alma mater, and we kind of probably bleed black and gold kind of the same.
I guarantee it.
And we love our Nettletons and our Valley Views and West Sides, but
True.
Ain't nothing like Jonesboro.
Ain't nothing like Jonesboro.
And the importance of Jonesboro. Jonesboro is in my opinion, and I think, Joe, you probably agree, the way that Jonesboro Public Schools goes is the way that the town goes.
I agree.
It is a microcosm of real life and what it looks like here in Jonesboro. And I just believe we both feel like we could probably do a little bit better.
I agree with that.
And move in a little bit different direction. I'm currently running for school board. He's currently been serving. We actually were on it together for a little bit.
Sure was.
On my way out and his way in, we spent a couple years there, and I wish I was. Well, hopefully I'll be there, and then we can work together and do some good things. But man, when you're on the school board for the first couple of years, it's kind of deer in the headlights anyways, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Got a big learning curve.
Got to be a great listener.
Yeah. So lot to learn. And, to be an effective school board member, it takes a lot more than just showing up month to month.
Oh, yes. You have to get involved with the parents, kids, teachers, and a little bit of administration. You have to really communicate, and once you're on the board for a little while, I'll say maybe 2 to 3, 4 years, maybe, parents will definitely start reaching out. And once the parents start reaching out, you'll see you're in a whole different category as far as being a school board member.
Right.
Because they really want answers and they want them now. So you have to be able to, how do I put it, answer the questions or send them to the appropriate people to get the answers.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can get it there. And if they can't, then we'll see where we can get it someplace else.
Well, I think that's probably a key thing is when you have a parent call you, sometimes you're going to know what's going on.
True.
Sometimes you're not. But the best thing I believe is that you're involved enough that you at least have an understanding of what's going on.
True. That is very true. If you really don't have a great understanding, then you tend to be opinionated.
Right.
You want to give what you think, and you can't do that as a board member. You have to do it professional, accurate, and make sure they get the answers they need to settle their minds.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, because there's nothing more important than a scorned mama wanting to know
ain't nothing.
Questions.
No words.
Answers.
No words than a scorned parent.
Well, I'd love to talk a little bit about maybe what the good things you see going on in Jonesboro.
The good things I see, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think it could have been more accelerated, maybe with our last superintendent. But I think now with our new superintendent, we're able to give a direction that we demand now. And I think that if we continue on the path that we're going, that we definitely have to accelerate our elementaries and junior highs and high school. And I'm hoping we can start that. I've been to several seminars, and it looks like we're really going to have to start that in pre-K. People think, kindergarten here, kindergarten there, but actually with the opportunity we have in pre-K that I've learned through seminars is that if we can start early, you won't have nearly the problems once they advance to the first grade, second grade, third grade.
And that comes a lot along with the LEARNS Act,
True.
where they've said no longer can pass on people that aren't on reading level. And I think you and I probably agree that that's a good thing. Implementation, maybe not such a great thing.
No, right. I think that is the perfect answer for that. Because we had in our last conference, Olivier, Department of Ed here in the state is, he's been showing up to our conferences in December, and he's really gave some great knowledge. I know we sit and watch the things that we hear are happening, but to talk to him, he's actually in the right state of mind that we are, and that's one thing that's been a positive because we've never seen the governor. And we always seen the governor. Asa was there at every conference to explain our direction and what we need to do, and we hadn't seen the governor yet. But Olivier has really been hands-on learning. And he realized since he's been here in the state that it is a process. We're not Florida. So, and he really gives great knowledge. And he's a great listener. That's the greatest thing,
Well, and I don't, it's like you implement something like, okay, every kid's got to start reading now at grade level. And I think that they said by third grade or starting at third grade is kind of the chopping block.
Right.
And you and I have talked a little bit about this, but like you said, it needs to be a progression.
True.
Let's start it at kindergarten or pre-K.
Right.
And so that way we can meet those things because, if you just start holding all these third grade teachers accountable immediately,
right.
That's not a process that's fair by any stretch of the imagination.
True. And it gives you a heads up. If you start at pre-K, by the time they're in the first grade, you actually know your slow learners, who they are, recognize them. Then you start putting in the extra work, the help with counseling, try to get more parent involvement. And then by the time they get to the third grade, it's not nearly a turning point from third to fourth.
Right.
And that way you can get those numbers way down because you don't want to be telling a third grader parent that they're either going to summer school or you're holding them back. And you have to give parents the opportunity to know that in advance, not just when they get in third grade.
Right.
And I know a parent involvement is a serious issue that we have, but that's today's world.
Yeah.
A lot of single parents out there. And if a single parent's got 3 kids and working, how much time in the day to help them all?
Well, I think we see it in ball games now.
True.
And other things you go and where there used to be parents packing the house.
That's true.
We don't see it.
We don't see that
anymore
because parents are having to work. Probably got little ones at home, and most of these families, little ones, if you got a teenager, that's normally the caretaker for the rest of them while mom's working, whatever shift she can get. And now with the new, laws that are in place for HUD and welfare, most of these parents have to get a job to make it. And so it's been a real challenge, and I've seen it live and well. And it's amazing to watch it, how to get progress in the fashion that it is. It's sad that, some of us board members, older generations have to try our best to mentor some of these kids, today. And as you said, like you can come to the ball games and you can see, the stands will tell you exactly how much involvement you're getting with kids in education, even in the sports.
Yep.
And it's sad to say, because I've had conversation with several parents that's getting ready to leave us. They're graduating this year, and they said that we're lost in time when it comes to that. Used to successful sports generated a great atmosphere. Now we have to generate our own.
Right.
The motivation, you might get 2 parents, maybe. That's a maybe, that may come in and inspire most of these kids, but most of these kids are really just out there performing for themselves,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's tough. And it is a new phenomenon that I think we need to figure out as a school how to deal with that.
Yes.
One of the things that I truly believe is that we have these kids from when they show up at school to when they leave. True. And we have the ability to show them what we believe is keys to success that entire time. True. And I think these kids walk in the door and they don't see that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like we have incredible teachers and people that are doing it, but we should be, as a district, as soon as they walk in the door, they should start seeing success and know what it looks like.
I agree.
And walking around the halls and things like that, they should know what it looks like, feels like. And I think it's an easy way to really elevate the district. And I think we are so caught up, at least like the administration side, not the principals, not the in the school things, but the administration of the districts. And Jonesboro's not isolated. I mean, it's all of them at some point, but chasing the grants and chasing the money and chasing, what it looks like instead of what it is. Right. And I think in a lot of aspects, we've lost the meaning of like teaching. And I believe, looking back when I was in school, we're really close at age. No, we're 10 years apart-ish, somewhere in there.
Better than that.
And but closer in generation than obviously we are to this generation. But even this generation is from 5 years ago is really far gap. That gap is rapidly and has gotten worse and worse and worse. And I don't know if worse is the right. It's just changed so much over year to year versus not a whole lot of change between you and my school time. But if you go back to when we were in school, we were being taught. And we had teachers that we could really gravitate towards that we remember that would grab one of us. I mean, I was the class clown, and I still had teachers that were like, come on, Jeremy, I know you're super smart and do this and do that. And they would grab me in and kind of make sure that I was making it and all that good stuff. And I think today's time, as busy as teachers are and as much as going on, we've lost some of that art of really being able to reach out to the kids, connect with them. And not that it's not happening. I think that like Jonesboro's AP programs, we're probably seeing a ton of that. Right. But it's almost like 2 different schools. And I was talking to some kids the other day, and they basically said the same thing. We've got the AP side and then we've got the non-AP side.
That's true.
And they believe that it's 2 different worlds in the sense of the way things operate and how things are done. And I just worry that, and the majority are not in the AP. And I just worry that we're creating the problem that we're trying to fix in a lot of ways in public schools.
True.
Okay, so what's our biggest holdback that you think in JPD or JPS?
Our biggest holdback is probably going to be, I can't say teachers, I can't say finances. We have probably one of the better finances in the area. I'm going to say our culture. culture is so dynamic that, people think when you say that you're talking about race, but no, we're talking about culture. We're talking about something you said earlier. Kids of yesterday aren't the kids of today. And I think there's a gap in teachers when it comes to that, because you have to adapt to the new age kids. Like, I'm talking every single year, because there's something these kids have learned that we haven't.
Yeah.
And I think that goes with teachers, because they have so much on their plate, so much studying, so much, I always said this, I don't believe today's teacher has as much time in the day to teach a class of 30 in 8 hours. I just can't see that in the process. And we have to, I think that's our biggest gap, because the worst of the worst is that, I make this remark all the time that, once you leave elementary, it makes no difference. You're going to be a D school. And that's unheard of with the progress we're making at the elementary level. But when you get to the junior highs, regardless, you're going to be a D school, which carries on to the high school. And I know we're talking about because there's more kids, but think about it. These elementary schools are holding, 450, 500. And our junior highs are 1,100 to 1,200 each. So why is there such a problem once they jump? And so our latest conference, Olivier harped on that grades are falling in 8th grade. 7th grade, okay. 8th grade, we forget reading, we forget math. And it's like, he made it the point that I think we have a policy here in Jonesboro that I think we move, our 6th graders get to visit the junior highs, like this is where you're going to the next year. What we found out through data is that you might want to start doing the 5th graders also, so they could be adjusted, because what's happening there is that your 6th graders getting there, 7th grade is fine because they're ready. They've been there and seen it. But then once the new 7th graders come and they become 8th graders, there's a disconnect with the 8th grade teachers and the 7th grade teachers. And I'm assuming it's sort of like when you're in the 10th grade, or back when I was in school, when I was in 9th grade going to the 10th grade, it took us to get to the 12th grade before we ever really learned it,
Right.
And it was kind of in between there. There's a stalemate where teachers are, I'm assuming the high school teachers from the 10th grade or junior highs, let's go back to the junior highs, the 8th grade teachers are getting you more prepared for the high school than for the 9th grade. I think it's where the disconnect. You start to separate your AP kids from your level 1, level 2 kids,
Right.
And once you do that, now I never experienced that when I was in school. And
Yeah,
I
we
don't,
didn't really have
I don't, yeah,
too much of
we
that.
didn't really have that. Your smarter kid was just smarter.
Right.
And I'm wondering if the teachers are having a problem when you grab your AP kids out of like the 8th grade and move them to the advanced courses, and you're left with the rest. If that's not the reason why your scores are lower, because the kids that are advanced are making a bigger gap.
It's kind of like, I remember being in class and Billy was making better grade than I, and I'm like, man, Billy's dumb. I'm going to make a better grade than him on the next one.
Right.
So we were all pushing one another a little bit. And if you take the ones that are pushing everybody and separate them, and then the ones that aren't self-motivated, ain't nobody there to motivate. Man, I never even thought about that. That's a great concept.
You put all the level 1s and level 2s in the same class, then who's the motivation?
Right.
Everybody's trying to get help.
Right. And I remember when, teachers would have the really smart ones go around and help the ones
help
that
them.
weren't catching up. And if you don't have that in the level 1s and 2s, then, again, what are you doing? And man, I think that's something that we need to look at. I mean, that's makes a ton of sense.
I think that's our biggest issue right now. I think, and I can also say that, Olivier said that, that also with schools that's keeping bad teachers, that, you have to get rid of those. And I'm not saying they bad. I'm just saying that teachers that are underperforming has to be made accountable.
Right. Well, and that's not to say that they can't be a good teacher somewhere else.
You're right, exactly.
And I think you and I have seen that over the years is you may be a great teacher at JHS, but you may not be a great teacher at Valley View or at Brooklyn.
That's correct.
And vice versa. It may be the same thing. And I mean, that's okay. But yeah, I agree. I mean, if we're not teaching kids, people need to be held accountable. But and you and I believe this at the same time, that's all the way up. If we're not teaching kids, everybody,
that's every grade.
Everybody from the teacher all the way up needs to be held accountable, because that is the goal. And I think I remember when I was on the board, we talked a lot about things that weren't about teaching kids.
No.
And sometimes the entire board meeting would be something about not teaching kids.
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute, like we're an education department. The majority of everything should be about, are we teaching kids? And so, and that, again, that's kind of what I said a minute ago is we're acting as this is a business.
True.
And not schools.
That's true. And the sad part about it, I think we have such a reputation, and I've said this to myself a few times, I think we've had such a reputation that if we could just get the teachers to reach out instead of just dealing with it, and I know you have to deal with your building administration, but sometimes it takes a little bit extra to get you what you need to get where you want to go. Because I don't think no teacher wants to lose their job. And I think all the teachers in our district do the best they can. But their hands are tied sometimes.
Well, and I think that sometimes they feel like they're on an island by themselves.
I've heard that all the way to success.
Yeah.
I've heard that 1,000 times. And I can't, I have to wait a little while now since we got a new administrator that's tending to change that. But teachers have the same mentality.
Yeah.
They're still thinking, well, I better not say this.
Yeah.
I better not say this.
I'm on an island by myself.
Yeah, that's right. And
whether it's true or not.
And what we would really love to have is, I don't want teachers to think that your name is ever brought up in any incident when you want to come to a board member and tell us about a problem that you can't get fixed. But what we would really like, and I know they got to be in there. I mean, every day can't be the same, and some classes going to be harder than others. But if they would reach out, we would really like to help them get the help, whether it be sub or, anything to help with their class. Because what we've seen in our visits is that, man, these classes, it's almost like, I hate to say it, but a lot of these classes need 2 teachers, and it still ain't enough. There's still a few kids that's still not getting it, but we need to really, really try to maximize that in every school. And I'm gonna assume maybe, which I'll find out more here in the next few days, but I'm kind of assuming that in our higher levels, junior highs and high school, maybe a lot of that's not as demanding as it is in elementary, which I can't see it. I think when a kid gets used to something, it's just like I hear now kids from Success that don't want to go back to the regular schools because they get more hands-on at success than they do in the main schools,
Right.
you know? So,
Right.
you know.
Well, and that, that's not the way it's supposed to be. The way it's supposed to be is the level of teaching should be the same both places.
Both places. Yeah, I
And,
agree.
and the only difference should be is you don't want to be at success.
Right. That's correct. That's correct.
So, and so you brought up culture, and I've had tons of conversations and tons of thoughts and research about culture. And that's kind of what I was saying about, we have the ability when they walk in the door to see tons of things about that and what we would like to see as Jonesboro culture. I can tell you, when I was growing up, school spirit was so high, it was crazy,
True.
and I believe probably the same when you were around. Is school spirit was, school spirit. It's kind of like, it's funny because one of my sons went and played basketball at the college level, and we got there, his colors were blue and gold, and I'm like, under my dead body, my blue and gold, because I was black and gold,
Right.
and I wasn't wearing Battleview colors under no circumstances.
Right.
So,
Right.
I did find a gray shirt, so that was good with his logo. But that was, that's the way we grew up.
True.
It was a school spirit period,
True.
and we don't see that this much. And it's okay to branch out to the other schools. And I think that, the kids these days, we didn't know hardly anybody from Valley View.
That's true.
Or
Nettleton. Nope.
And, today everybody knows everybody. And I think that that's great. But, even good spirit against one another is good.
True.
And we've kind of lost that, where Jonesboro used to be the premier school as far as that went across the state.
True.
The dog pound was revered across the state.
It's like we invented it.
That's right. We did invent it. Well, you're looking at one.
Right.
You're looking at one of the founders. It's tough to see that that's not there anymore. And I believe that can be fixed. I think it's something. Now you're going to have to work at it, but you're going to have to want to work at it.
True.
And I think the teachers want to work at it. It's just, it makes me scratch my head and go, what are we doing? It's like, it's almost like we've just gotten to the point where we're cattle. We put them through the doors and we deal with them until we get to send them out the doors.
That's true.
And I believe that we spend way more focus on central office, and this is just Jeremy, and he can chime in if he wants to, but I feel like we spend way more time at central office to the focus and less time focusing on the kids and the teachers. And I think that it should be kids, teachers, administration in the buildings, and then central office. That should be the focus. Central office should be working for the kids and the teachers, period. And I think sometimes we get lost in the minutia at central office about, new things and follow this and get more money and, and all of that's built around teaching kids, but is it,
Right.
The proof isn't there. Like the numbers aren't there. There's very little things that I have seen in the last probably 7 years that says we're doing it right.
Right.
We're not. You have pockets every now and then that are you're like, okay, we've had some success there, but aside from some of those pockets, we're pretty stale in kind of the direction we've gone in a long time.
True.
And in some cases, like school spirit, like culture, we've gone back. And I remember you said it, the race thing. I remember on the football team and a couple of other things in soccer. We didn't see color, you know.
That's
and I believe that Jonesboro does a pretty good job about that as far as the kids go. Don't know how much the rest of people kind of follow that. I think that there's a disconnect between kind of those running the show and the kids. I think there's a disconnect in there as far as like not seeing color.
I'm gonna tell you, Jeremy, I can agree and disagree in that. I can tell you what I see because my kids all went through the system here, is that when you talk about culture, we heard about it, let's just say. You know, I remember probably back in your day when we played the Little Rocks, you know, those were Metropolitan.
Right.
And Jonesboro was that good old country team that would come in and, you know, and we just had enough fight in us to compete. I think now we're actually Metropolitan. I mean, say what you want to say, but, you know, I know numbers don't tell you a lot, but you ain't going to fluctuate. Just look at it. You play football in the 5A.
Yeah.
You play basketball in the 6A.
Yeah.
My boss used to always tell me that's straddling the fence.
Right.
You got to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think with our spirit and our fan base and our culture doesn't reflect that. And I think what the problem we're having with that is that we have to really, really look at where we're at, and you have to evaluate that each year. It was kind of, you know, senior night, you know, it was probably one of our better nights other than when we have the baby cheerleaders.
Right.
You know, I wish we could do that
Right.
we fill the gym up with everybody. But, you know, I think the best culture thing I've seen in a long time was when I seen the senior cheer, step, and they all got out there and stepped together. And I had a question because nobody told me that was happening like that. I was like, well, I ain't never seen the step team with white girls. And when they got out there and performed, it was so amazing for all races. It lets you know that we can combine and do anything we want. And you'll probably never see that in any other school. And that that needs to be accelerated. Yeah, we talk AP, you know, we talk about all the scholarship money we get for the smart kids that's going to college. You know, we recently added the associate's degree to our tech center. I think all kids ought to have an opportunity to do whatever they want to do. And I think we need to progress in an aggressive manner. And I learned this from Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, because we are so similar. Because industry's leaving these smaller towns, everybody's moving to Jonesboro for the jobs. And here we go, Nettleton and Jonesboro, with kids we've never seen before, never dealt with before. And we're wondering, how do we deal with this kid that we've never seen but 1 year?
All right.
Kids that've been here since kindergarten, we tend to gravitate to. And I think teachers do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think when a new kid moves in, if none known, you know, I think our teachers have a small disconnect. There was something that we worked on. I remember we worked on, what's our brand? How do we brand ourselves to sell ourselves? And I hadn't seen that progress very much in the last 3 to 4 years.
Right.
And I think that we have to take a step back for a second and reevaluate the way we do all things in our district to better the kids, help the teachers, and also we can help the administration if they'll listen. And to do that, I know we always talked about community this. Well, you can try the community, but you ain't gonna get many. You have to bring them to the school. You know, it's amazing when kid gets in trouble, you have to bring the parent to the school. I think we need to bring the parents in the same way we do with we bring in our new teachers, do a little evaluation in the early on. I think we need to, how do I put it? brand our parents in the same fashion.
Yeah, bring them into I mean, beginning of the year, we have kids in there, we have teachers in there, and they do a big event for all of
Right,
them, and
right.
they get them pumped up and ready for the
Right.
school year. Yeah, why don't we do that with the parents?
True.
I agree.
Even if we have to, I love it talking to parents because it's funny once you talk to them and they understand that you understand, they tend to get a better understanding of it because listening to them, you can always understand. But I always understand that all parents love their kids, good or bad.
Right.
But if you can hit them where they understand, now understand that's a key part.
Right.
You have to know a person, and you have to know a parent, and you have to give them the knowledge to understand. You can't go in there talking about, the ABs or the CBs and the CDs. You got to go in there and talk just basically A, B, C, D, and leave it at that. You have to do it in steps. And once you start that, you'll see parents will really try to do their best with what they have. It's amazing now, with the computer generated classes that we have that, people still don't believe it. There's still a lot of kids that don't even have cell phones and don't even have computers. And the only way they do, their parents got it, and they might get to use it, they might not.
Yeah.
And that's a serious problem. I would like to see just that progress to the age where we have to, like I say, we have to brand ourselves. We have to say we're the greatest. And if you can't, and we ain't talking about just by years, we got to do this from the younger years where they just love it, don't want to never leave. And I think if you can start that, we always talk about we celebrate everything. I've never seen a large celebration. I've seen an individual celebration,
Right.
but I've never seen a large celebration. And I think that's something that we have to do at all schools,
Yeah, I agree. So maybe a couple of the last things.
Okay.
You and I have talked a long time about training as school boards.
True.
And years ago, I came to you and I said, "Man, if you didn't learn nothing from me, go to this training and this training."
You definitely was the one that told me that.
And
I never knew that. Never. I had been on the board probably year and a half, 2 years when you said that. And I was like, huh. I was like, these other guys been on it longer than you. And this what went through my mind. Because I came in the board fashion that I wasn't going to be there long anyway.
right.
And then once I got into it, I was like, huh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And it had nothing to do because I had no kids, no grandkids in the
Right.
district. And it was like, that's interesting. And so I became that great listener that they told us at that new board institute.
Right.
And I won't never forget, I bet it was 50% of the conference was a great board member, was always a great listener.
Right. Yep.
And training, I'm a firm believer in this. And, I'm on the state board also, Region 3 director. And we have emphasized that for us board members to challenge every board member that's on our board to do more than you did the year before. The next year, do more than you did before. We've actually had a saying that with the laws in the LEARNS Act right now, that every board member that's 4 years or below should always go to the new board institute for training because there's a law changed almost every single time they do one.
Right.
And they would learn more about it. And, I challenge my board. It's hard to explain it because they're all parents. I've told a few of them that. I understand that. But that's the object of being a school board member.
Yeah.
You know, I know you have families, and shame on you, but you know, you have to get the knowledge if you want your kids to have the best.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I have learned in the last, I'll say in the last 5 years. I've been on the board now 12, going on 13 now. And if you don't get your hours, that's telling me your knowledge is coming from Facebook, school, conferences, and you're not learning the law of being the best board member you can be.
Yeah.
And that's something that I you know, you taught me that.
Well, and you and I both know this, a highly effective school board can make all the difference in a school.
Oh God.
And when I was on the school board and would go to the state levels, they would say, and I did some mingling with on the state level, but they would say the percentage of probably highly effective school boards across the state was 20 to 30%. And I don't even know if that's changed any. But my big thing is, and if I'm on, and I think you and I can agree on this, is how do we become a highly effective school board? That when you have a highly effective school board working with a superintendent that demands results, and those two come together, then you have a great school.
Cool.
If you've got a good superintendent with an ineffective school board, or vice versa, usually those things don't work. You don't ever have what you want. And so at some point in time, which I'm actually writing a manual about how to be a highly effective school board. But highly effective school boards in today's time is so much more important than what we used to see back in the day, because the dynamics is so different and things are moving so fast that if you're not an effective school board and you're not a self-educated school board, you're missing a lot of things.
Missing a whole lot.
So
school boards is not city council. I always tell people that. This is not city council being on a school board.
Right. And it's the true part of service, because you don't get paid.
You don't get paid.
There's no insurance.
No insurance. There's nothing that comes with it.
It is time.
Angry parents.
Angry parents. You're always, you're always the bad guy.
You're always the bad guy.
So
because you're in charge, and and it's a really trying thing if you don't get the knowledge.
Yeah. For sure.
And and I went
even with the knowledge.
Even with the knowledge, it's just tough.
Yeah.
I agree.
So we'll end with this. What you tell me why you love being a school board member?
I love being a school board member. I can tell you, 2 years in, I ran across a kid. And the kid looked at lost, and he asked me a question. And I said, I'll see what I can do. And so when I did that, a parent came to me and said, did my kid ask you a question? I said, sure did. And I said, I'm for sure going to get that answer in the next 30 minutes. And I got that answer for that kid. And that parent and kid was so satisfied with the answer. I can tell you what the question was the parent came to me about special ed and was belligerent about special ed. And I had to explain to the parent what that does for the teachers when they tell you that. And once I explained it, the parent was like, oh, that ain't how it was explained to me. When I heard special ed, everything else blinked out.
Right.
And so, I was able to answer that question and get them to agree upon it to get that extra help. They never knew that when you label special ed, you get extra help.
Right.
And it don't mean you're dumb. It just means you get extra help.
Right.
And the teacher can allow that without consequences. And that was something I did, and it meant so much to me. because it wasn't none of that when I was in school. Wasn't no special ed, none of that. Wasn't none of this. What is it? ADHD.
Yep.
None of that.
Dyslexia, none of that stuff.
And then, I have grandkids that's went through that. And I thought it was the worst thing in the world when I first heard that. And to see it now.
Oh, I wish I'd have had an extra 20 minutes to do my test or something like that.
Let me tell you.
My grades would have been a whole lot better.
It's amazing, those kids, how much they prosper with that extra help, man. I can't say, they go from boys to men, and girls go from little girls to little ladies, and it's amazing. Just that extra help kind of gives them that pat on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm here for you. Yeah. And that's how I felt when I got that answer from them. So that's what made me want to be on that board.
Well, and I'm right there with you. I mean, this is the next generation.
Oh man, it's there.
And man, there's some diamonds in the rough, and there's some great kids.
Great kids.
And and if people aren't fighting for them, they're going to be forgotten.
They're going to be forgotten, man. They're going to find a place to put them, and a lot of them come back.
Yeah.
But
my thing is we got to fight for the kids every single day. Then we got to fight for the teachers that are worth keeping.
That's true.
And then let the rest of it fall where it falls.
Fall where it falls, man.
So
great.
As long as you're focused on those two right there,
man, you can't be no wrong, can it?
That's right. That's
right.
Thing. So I remember, in my church years ago, we had this thing where it was called home teaching, and so basically, like I got like 4 people in my church, and I was responsible for just going around checking on them, making sure that they were okay.
Right.
And then you had all these other callings, right?
Right.
And a guy came in one time, and you had bishops, and you had elders quorum, and you had elders of the church, and you had all this stuff, right? And he came in and he said, he was talking to the men at the time. He said, if you just do your home teaching, there'd be no need for any other calling. So if the men would have just went around to those 4 families that we all had regularly, we wouldn't need any other callings. And that's the same way I feel about school is if we would just give the focus to the kids, we wouldn't need all this other stuff that we're constantly chasing.
That's true.
And at some point in time, and I'm a crazy firm believer too at this, and that is, man, if we could go back to the 70s and 80s,
man,
and teach them, because it was about teaching the kids back then. And we could go back and erase, all this crazy stuff we've added over the years. And we add every year something new for our poor teachers to have to learn to teach. Man, if we could just erase all that and go back to the days where it was just about teaching kids.
Right.
Man, I couldn't imagine what we'd be doing
like
today.
Man, me either.
So
be great.
Joe, I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate
Always
you,
a pleasure.
Always, brother.
And man, guys, get to know your school boards. Hold them accountable too. Say, hey, get out there, take a look at what's going on in the schools. Make sure they know what's going on. Find that one that knows what's going on, because just about every school you're going to find one that knows what they're doing. and those that aren't, man, just encourage them to either get off and let somebody else, or get involved more. And then, hey, if you got great teachers, praise them. And if you got ones that ain't so great, you might need to pick up the phone and call a school board member. But,
that's right.
But guys, we appreciate you tuning in, and check in next time. Thanks.
Thank you.